I want to thank you for joining me again as I share, hopefully, some of my favorite new books and movies, films I've watched. I call this one, of course, as you can see, number 32, Werewolves, Witches, Ghosts, and Zombies, because they're all in my little tales today. First thing I'd like to share with you is Paranormal State by Ryan Buell. If you're a fan of the A&E series, like I am, then you have to read this book. Yeah, you do. It covers the first year, the first season of the filming of the episodes. It gives you some background and basically what it was when he was a little kid that got him started with this, the whole paranormal thing that happened to him. And I really like this. This is good. You'll notice in the 5th season, I think it is, the current season, that Stefan Petruccia is actually on the show, and he helps him write this book. Really good. I recommend it. It's, of course, cheaper as an ebook.
Well, hello there. What have you got going today, okay? Yeah. Oh, it's a TV show about ghosts. I don't like that. No. Ghost stories. There's no such thing as a ghost. Oh, wait a minute.
There's no such thing as a zombie either.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a zombie either, I guess. But I'll eat your brains. Yeah. Anyway, what's next? I don't want to talk about Paranormal State, okay? Alright.
Anyway, this was recommended by a viewer of YouTube. Gorgert, I hope I say his or her name right. Edward Lee's Coven we're in the realm of Wrath James White here, the Resurrectionist. This is a twisted gore fest. Gorgert said that him and his friends think that this might be one of the most disgusting things they've ever read, and they're probably not way off either. This thing gets way out. It basically is impossible to find in paperback. It's readily available as an ebook. I had no trouble finding this on Nook from my Nook-like device on the Barnes & Noble site. I do recommend this if you're a gorehound. It's extremely cruel. Be careful, because some of your friends in the book aren't going to make it to the end of the book in one form or manner or another, because he's not afraid to dispatch main characters. Edward Lee's Coven is really a twisted book.
Oh, it was written by Edward Lee? You really liked that book he wrote, The Black Train, didn't you? You thought that was scary. Well, maybe one day I'll read it, because I can read. Yes, I can. Oh, Coven? Nope. Don't believe in witches either. No, they're just toodless stupid. They're not scary. This book is not scary.
Dying to Live is a part 1 of a trilogy by Kim Paffenroth. It was also recommended to me by a viewer of YouTube. One of the things I find the most fun about this YouTube is the people that have turned me on to new things, like Joe McKinney, for instance. But Edward Lee's Coven was that way. He is a viewer of YouTube, and so is this guy. I'm going to put his name up on the screen for you. Also a viewer of YouTube that strongly suggested I pick up this book, and I did, and I really like it. One of the things that's different about this, I'm not going to name any particular authors because that's not my intention, but sometimes even zombie authors will shy away from destroying their main characters in inventive and gruesome ways. This guy does not. This book might actually contain real horror, because sometimes he does that. And so the zombies, they're really zombies. You know, I mean, they're not been modified at all. And one of the interesting things about this book, and it's probably very difficult to do, is this book never stops. It's really not just non-stop action, but it always moves. It's going from one thing to the next all the time, which is awesome to me. It's probably not a very easy thing to do either.
Ooh, dying to live. Ooh, a zombie book I could really sink my teeth into. It sounds totally cool. Is there, oh, it's more than one? How many of you read none?
All right, now we get to our paper book section. If you are a huge fan of this book, of this series, Warehouse 13, like I am, it's pretty necessary to read this book. It's Warehouse 13, A Touch of Fever. As far as I know, it's the first novelization of the show. Greg Cox is someone who writes novelizations of films and television shows. So, and he said he wanted to do this series the first time he saw the first episode. You can tell because all the nuances of these characters, Pete and Micah and Lena and Miss Fredericks and Artie and Claudia, they're all in this book. When you read it, you actually feel like you're basically reading a two-parter because it's like 305 pages. Really good. If you like Warehouse 13, I think you have to read this.
Oh, Warehouse 13, another science fiction TV show. I can't stand it. Stop it. I'm not gonna read Warehouse 13.
Let's see. Oh yes, now we're gonna get in. I'm gonna recommend some films.
Now, do you have any cool movies? And if your first one is not a zombie movie, there's gonna be problems.
I know you like zombie films, so the first thing I'm gonna recommend is a zombie film, okay? All right, Rammbock is a German zombie film. It's only 61 minutes. Yeah, you heard me right, 61 minutes.
Oh, Rammbock. That sounds like a beer. Rammbock, Berlin, Undead. Totally cool. It's only 61 minutes long. What the hell?
It doesn't need to be longer. I recommend this because it has a weird flavor to it. It's such an odd little film. But if you're a zombie fan or freak like I am, I think you'll actually want to do this. Want to rent this? I rented it from Netflix. It's not. It was not on Netflix streaming, but for those of you who cannot stand English subtitles, there is a function on the DVD. You can dub it into English. The next thing I want to recommend is a film called Cyrus, The Mind of a Serial Killer. It's a film with Lance Henriksen.
Cyrus, The Mind of a Serial Killer. Okay? Is it totally cool? See that guy from Aliens in it? Yeah.
And you're in splatter territory, so be careful. It has a Jack Ketchum-esque feeling to it. These people who made this film are not afraid to annihilate main characters in rather gruesome, hideous ways. And it's supposedly based on a true story. And basically this woman wants to interview this guy, Lance Henriksen, who seems to know a great deal about this serial killer who escaped, never was caught, but maybe he knows a little too much about the serial killer, which I found kind of fascinating. We did the pay-per-view thing on PlayStation 3 to watch Paul Unrated. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost wrote the film, and from what I read, Edgar Wright would have directed it, but he was involved with, oh gosh, what is the name of that film he did? never mind. There's about 100 references in Paul, either visual or verbal, to especially Spielberg and Lucas and a few others that are culturally relevant. There are just tons of little visual cues and secrets, like, you know, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. But really funny. I recommend it because I found it to be really funny. Of course, Seth Rogen plays Paul, the alien. Great name for an alien, don't you think?
Oh no, another science fiction movie? Paul? What kind of stupid name is that for an alien? Not beautiful like the sweet babu for the zombie, right? No.
I'd also like to recommend a couple other science fiction films. It's with so many remakes and so many sequels around, it's so difficult sometimes to find a good science fiction film. And you'll notice on these Netflix things I'm going to bring up here, the covers, the ratings on these by fans, and fans are pretty hard to please, so they're rated rather high. Source code is a film that with Jake Gyllenhaal as the lead, and it's directed by Duncan Jones, who is, as we all know by now, is David Bowie's son, and he directs science fiction really well. He takes it very seriously, as he did with Moon, Sam Rockwell, and he's completely serious. He really does do an incredible job on this film. The next film I'd like to recommend is Adjustment Bureau. With Matt Damon. It was taken from a Philip K. Dick short story, and again, in fact, I found the cinematography in Adjustment Bureau to be gorgeous, to be one of those films on Blu-ray that just glows, you know. In my opinion, I think you should check both of these out, well, all three, including Paul.
Oh boy, the source code, the Adjustment Bureau, science fiction movies, I'm sick of them. They're stupid.
The next one is a little complicated to explain. It's Rutger Hauer in Hobo with a Shotgun.
Hobo with a shotgun? That's something totally cool. I wish I had a shotgun right now. Is it about a hobo with a shotgun? Yeah, pretty simple, huh?
Now it's on Netflix streaming, so you can easily see it. It reminds me of three directors' works, or three things. It's like it was, the cinematography was Percy Adlon, because there's a lot of hot colors, a lot of blues and reds that saturate the scenes, and Percy Adlon does that. But it's talky like a John Waters film, but it looks like a Tromaville movie. And the reason I say that is because when Rutger Hauer goes to this town, basically the plot is Rutger Hauer is a hobo. He goes to a town, sees the injustice there, and gets a shotgun. That's basically the plot. It is gruesome, gruesome, gruesome. It's way over the top. The town itself is actually over the top. There might be places actually like this in America, but it's so extreme. But again, it's on Netflix streaming. I recommend it. It was recommended to me, and boy, did I find that odd. There is something else to do with Warehouse 13. It is a 29-minute episode on sci-fi.com. It's complete in 10 episodes. It's called Of Monsters and Men, and the crew of Warehouse 13 go into a comic book world. That I thought was interesting. The problem that a lot of people are going to have, and one of the complaints, is the product placement. It's a little awkward. I'm not going to go on and on about it. I think that when you do a product placement, because you pay for the episode, good for Toyota Prius, you have to write it into the episode a little better, because if you don't, it looks kind of clunky.
Oh no, I'm sick of that Warehouse 13 crap. That's probably a stupid show anyway. Totally dumb.
The last thing I'm going to recommend is something that MTV is doing. It's a TV series called Death Valley.
There's a TV series called Death Valley about zombies? Oh, wow.
And they offer very little explanation in it. It's basically one day zombies stumbled into town, and for some reason werewolves and vampires followed them. That's pretty much all the explanation you're going to get.
No, I don't like sparkly vampires or teen werewolves. No, just zombies. It's just about zombies, isn't it? Yeah, it's totally cool.
What it is it looks like a cops show. The cops are followed around by a documentary crew or camera crew, and they're filmed while they make either arrests or dispatch zombies. This show is laugh out loud funny. It comes on, I think it's Monday nights. Check your listings. One episode is aired already, and it was really, for the stills that I include do not make it look funny, but I promise you it's all done tongue-in-cheek, even though it is one of the goriest things I've ever seen on TV. Gorier than The Walking Dead, which is saying a lot, but really gory and funny.
Well, I guess I better leave now. I said enough and entertained all my millions and millions of fans everywhere with the Sweet Peppers presents. Yeah. So I'm gonna go. So take care. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. I had a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of things I wanted to recommend I've covered in the last 2 or 3 weeks or read, but I wanted to share those things with you, and thanks for coming along with me.